the easiest way to go viral on LinkedIn is just to put something in the hook like cold outreach is dead, and then basically you can say anything else, ruffles a lot of feathers, gets a load of comments. People get angry, a few will laugh, and then a lot of people will agree. So the thing is, cold outreach is not universally dead, it's contextual. So in dead niches, it's dead in niches where prospects are getting absolutely bombarded with the same messages over and over again. Or in niches where your prospect doesn't really need the service, so not your niche. When cold outreach won't work is when you're messaging someone who does not need what you're selling, or when you've done a really bad job at portraying the true value of what you do. Cold outreach is dead for you if that's the case. But it's very much alive, and even in with those generic scripts that you see, the picture template, the templated ones that you can see online, they can still work really well in some niches to ones who just don't get that much cold outreach. The nuance is knowing which niches work and which ones don't, and which approach to take in your scenario. So let me go through a little success story with a client. So I had another client recently, they really nailed their messaging, and we rolled out a direct pitch outreach message that he was actually sending a connection request, and it was booking meetings like crazy. The only reason that worked is because the message was super clear in exactly how he could help the recipients, and the people he was reaching out to really needed what he was selling. So cold outreach will work in this case, no matter what you send, basically. The scripts are one thing, but in this case, if both of these two things are true, the messages are going to work, simple. When you combine these two things, it doesn't become about having the right script. There's no magical formula. You need to be concise, you need to get your message across, but the whole goal of outreach, whether it's warm or cold, is delivering a message to someone who needs it and then calling them to action to actually take the next step, which in B2B is generally to book a call. So the simplicity box, so strip away all the nonsense around here about cold outreach. If you can really focus on just delivering actual value in the right words to the right people who need it, you will get responses and you will get meetings. It's that simple. Half the work is actually done in getting the value proposition statement right that we spoke about earlier. If you don't get that right, you can't send good messages. If you get that nailed on, your messages are perfect and it'll be very easy to get responses. If you have that right and you really know who you're speaking to, down to almost a disturbing level in terms of they feel like you're in their head, where you know too much about them, it's really easy to write scripts. Very, very easy. So let's dive into the different types of outreach you can do, warm versus cold, and when you should use each. So in marketing, a lot of our niches are pretty saturated at this point. So that's where warm outreach comes into play. Warm outreach is not saturated because most people don't know how to do it. I'm going to show you how, I'm going to show you explain when to use each approach, and I'm going to give you the exact conversion templates that you can use to follow. So warm outreach, just follow this strategy. So warm outreach is when you're starting, when you're reaching out to someone who already knows you or has asked you to reach out to them for some reason. So you can do a content-driven, inbound-led outbound is what some people say. So the easiest way to generate warm outreach is following this. So create a valuable resource, like I talked about previously about creating your content. Offer them to your audience, like comment on this post and I'll share the thing with you. Collect hand raisers, so people who comment are saying, yes, I want that, I have that problem. And then deliver value in the follow-up. So follow up with them and send them the message. If you may have bought an outbound bundle with this product that you're looking at, I go through all those messages in that so you can see exactly what those messages look like. When I do this, I tend to get a 25 to 30% response rate, which is extremely high for outreach. And I'm sending out 100 valuable resources every day. So you can imagine how many calls you're getting off. I'm getting off the back of that. Warm outreach becomes very easy when you follow this process. You can send them the resource, in some cases pitch them directly, or in other cases go for the longer game, or maybe you need to qualify them or whatever that might be. So if you do this at least once every week, create the resource and distribute it, you'll have more leads than you can handle, I promise you. This is where having the micro-marketing team comes in. You need to outsource the posting and just focus on creating the resource. They'll do the posting, scheduling, sending out the resources, but then you should be there or have someone really well trained on your team to do that follow-up so that you're capitalizing on all these responses, because you can start dozens to, if not hundreds of conversations every week by doing this. Now we'll look at cold outreach. So it's a bit harder. But there is things we can do to warm up prospects faster. So it's what I call the resource first approach, or the value first approach. So we share resources to start conversations, basically. Example, so I created this video, hey person I just connected to, I created this video explaining how on specific industry challenge you might find useful. It explains how company type can get blah blah blah, whatever that might be. The reason this works is by starting conversation by giving something away to start. It shows you're not just going to hit them with a pitch like everyone else is on LinkedIn, and that you're different. You're showing them that there's something in it for them. The video then, if they watch it, if it's a video that you've shared, will demonstrate a high level of nuance, because remember, that's what you have to put in the videos. When you put a lot of nuance and detailed information in the videos, how to solve the problem and get the solutions, they're going to really trust you. If your message gets in front of the right person at the right time, they will convert to sales calls. And again, you're sending out as many of these to warm outreach as possible. So you're getting, I said that wrong. You can send 200 connection requests every week, and you should be maxing that out by sending out connection requests every week and getting in these resources in front of as many people as possible. So the reason this works is because text-based communication is a lot harder for nurturing prospects. When you send videos like this as a resource, you're dramatically speeding up the nurturing process, getting something like 6 months nurturing done in the space of 6 days or less. So when should you prioritize cold outreach over warm? Because obviously warm sounds better, but it's not going to work for everyone. Cold outreach is more relevant and needed than warm outreach when you have a small total addressable market or TAM, because your posts that you distribute in your timeline aren't going to be as interesting to certain people, so they're not going to do as well. So you have to connect directly with cold. So in small market dynamics, your content gets less algo reach because LinkedIn rewards activity exponentially. For every like you get, you might get 12 impressions, which is an exponential growth when you get lots of likes from them impressions as well. Warm outreach becomes more difficult because you just won't get that exposure. In smaller TAMs, each lead is more valuable, so personalization becomes crucial. So burning even one lead in a small pool is significant. So people don't forget when you annoyed them. So if you started hammering them with a pitch, they're not going to forget that. Maybe they'll see your content in future, but if you left them a dodgy pitch in the DMs, they're going to see that first when they get onto your page, or if you ignore them when they message you, and then they're probably not going to reach out. So be careful when you have a small TAM, you have to be very specific. So extreme personalization case study. So again, the fractional CMO for commercial landlords I mentioned, he was giving all his leads a one-to-one personalized 12-page document to every single lead. Extremely low volume, he was sending 2 to 3 every week, but he was booking 1 to 2 meetings roughly, because it was so much value for the people, and he was in a market where they needed the thing, and he got to a point where we tested different messaging, and he was really able to get clear on the value that they're going to get out of it. So the volume was low, he was only sending 3, but he was booking 2 calls. So think about the personalization spectrum. So if you have a small TAM, really small TAM with high value prospects, one-to-one custom documents are a good idea. Personalized research is a bit less. Personalized research, industry-specific value if you have a bit of a bigger TAM or maybe less valuable prospects. Long-term nurturing, and then you just have on your low end is generic messages again. For if your value per customer is a bit low, it doesn't make sense to put a lot of time to build a 12-page document. In a large TAM, for high-value prospects, shared resources, and then for the low-value prospect, again, you go back down to generic messaging. The smaller your market, the higher your personalization needs to be. This is an extreme case, and I generally wouldn't say to send 3 messages per week and put that level of detail. But I just wanted to show you an example on how effective and how detailed you can get with personalization and how effective it can be. When you have a large TAM, you can afford to be a bit less careful with prospects because they're a dime a dozen. The long game, which everybody forgets about when they're talking about LinkedIn outreach. They're thinking, connect, book a call, yes or no, my client or not. No one ever talks about this because it's always just the one and done. But you forgot about what networking is, which is what LinkedIn is for. So even the term cold outreach is probably the wrong way to think about it. When you connect with a prospect, they're in your network forever until they delete you. and most people don't delete you. So think about prospects over a year and 2 years. So here's a relationship building timeline. If you wanted to reach a really high value prospect in a smaller niche, first connection, week 1. So connect, share a valuable resource, ask a discovery question, don't pitch. Make the resource extremely valuable. Follow up 6 weeks later with another extremely valuable and relevant resource. This is not spammy if the resource is really relevant. If it's not, you're being a spammer. But if you're sending them something and every time they're like, whoa, thanks, I can give this to my internal team, or I can use this. If what's inside could be groundbreaking for them, you do everything you need to put it in their hands, so it's not spammy by following up. And then you have ongoing nurturing, where you can reach out every 6 to 8 weeks, have conversations that naturally lead to sales conversations with them trusting you more over time, and more importantly, actually building a real lasting relationship. So if you just pitch them on day 1 and never talk to them again, you're completely burning that lead, because they'll see it in the future. So playing the long game is key if you have a small TAM with big contract sizes. And beyond content, there's creative value sharing. So lastly, on cold outreach, I want you to use all the assets that you can, but it's not always just content. It doesn't have to be content that you share. You can share many more valuable insights or valuable things. So here's an example. I have a friend who owns a concert hall in Dublin. He rents out the concert hall at a rate of, I think it's over $20,000 a day, so euros a day. He asked me how I could fill it, how I could use LinkedIn to fill up the concert hall during the week when there's no concerts on. Our creative solution, so every Wednesday he told me that they had a singer come in and do a live event in their bar. It could be Dermot Kennedy was one of them who did it. I don't know if you know him. He could give tickets away for these events to these corporates for free. He could then connect with the companies locally, get them in, speak to them on a Wednesday, tell them about the facility and while they could. And the result is he ended up getting many bookings from businesses who attended that bar, those free tickets and a couple of free drinks, why wouldn't you, on a Wednesday night. And then they knew all about it. So next time they had a training or a meeting or whatever, a large an annual event for the business, they did it they can now do it in his concert hall. He did this through cold outreach on LinkedIn. I just helped him think outside the box. So, reflection question, what can you do beyond content? What can you share with prospects that's more valuable than an article or a video? Do you have exclusive access to something? Can you offer a free assessment or analysis? Do you have tickets or invitations to events? Or what do you have that costs little but has a very high perceived value? So action step is list those 3 things, and let's think about how you can put those in your next campaign so you can get a load of clients from LinkedIn outreach, warm and cold. That's it for now. In the next video, let's look at how to implement this and then your next steps. Thanks for watching.